Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to another edition of Quiz Your Biz. And I think this is going out live already. It does say live, so hopefully that should be working from the word go. Apologies in advance for my blurry camera. Anyone that kind of follows my profile may know that I decided to take one of my phones scuba diving and broke it very quickly. So I'm back to an older phone, which does have some water in the lens, which is just fantastic. Okay, so while I'm just waiting for Stephen to come on now, I'm just going to share this out to a couple of other groups as well, and then hopefully we will get him on as soon as we can. And so sharing out, I don't seem to have an option for that on there. No requests yet there either. So while we're waiting for him to come on, I will get this. I'll just go through the main intro, and then hopefully by the time that is done, Stephen should be on here and ready to go. So hello and welcome to Quiz Your Biz, the bi-weekly show where we interview people to find out about their businesses and experiences, for top tips and inspiration on running your own business, and to learn other interesting topics. Have a listen today while I interview Stephen Jones, who is the business disruptor. Stephen Jones, the business disruptor, about his business. To view any previous episodes or listen to the podcast, visit quizyourbiz.com or search for Quiz Your Biz on your podcast app, where you'll be able to hear everything that we've done so far. So Stephen should be on any minute now, and at the end of the interview he's going to give us the top tips around sales and how he can guarantee that you'll be able to close your leads as well. So that's going to be very exciting. Let me see if I can get him on now. He's not showing up. Hello to those that I've got on. Stephen, I can see that you're there, but it's not showing that I can add you as yet. I've got you on there. There is no add button. There is only an add button for Lizzie. So Lizzie is definitely not Stephen. Please get yourself on, and I will try and share it out in the meantime when we're working out these buttons and these technical issues, which do seem to happen far too often. And hopefully, I've got a red circle there. Stephen Jones, approve. There we go. So adding him now, and that's bringing him on right away. Still adding. The joys of technology. Here we go. Lizzie said, "Don't add me." Lizzie,
There we go.
Mr. Jones, hello.
I'm very well. Unfortunately, all best laid plans and that. I was on my laptop, and my laptop won't do a live, so I had to switch the phone, which hopefully won't run out of charge while we're talking.
That does look a little bit clearer than before as well. So that's great.
Awesome. Hello.
Fantastic. Hello. Stephen, let's start off by finding out a little bit more about yourself. I know that I will try and get this broadcasted while you're talking, so this will be shared out to some of the other groups I know you're in already. But if you can tell me who you are and what you do, and I'll try and get this shared now.
Yeah, I am the business disruptor. What I do, I've had several different companies over the years, from venture capital finance, through to advisory services in the Middle East. And basically what I've done probably since the late 90s is either raising finance to put into companies that quite often needed management assistance to fix internal problems when the money arrived, or working directly with companies to help them improve. And that's everything from a one-man band working in his home office up to sort of Fortune 500 level in the Middle East. Saudi top companies, that sort of thing. So putting in place systems, putting in place processes, organizing not just a specific part of the company, but looking at how everything fits in. So from all the back office systems, how that fits into the staff and the clients, because obviously you have to have internal systems for your clients, and internal systems for your staff. And then moving on to marketing, how marketing feeds into sales, how sales fits into production or implementation, whatever it is that people do. And then the back end stuff of customer care and ongoing support. And that, whilst for corporate, is quite intense and quite in depth and high level, and can take 3 or 4 months in some cases. For the small business, it's no less important. But more often than not, that's what's totally overlooked by small business owners. So they have no way of recording how they do what they do, as it were, which means you can't improve.
Okay, so you've kind of helped everywhere along the line from starting out to all the way through to right at the other end of the process in the business, right?
Yeah, basically, that's the main focus of what I've been doing over the years, and then other sort of project finance and putting things together in there. Because when you're mixing with those sort of companies, obviously opportunities come along and sort of like squirrels. But if it pays you lots of money, it's worth doing.
Absolutely. And Stephen, tell us one interesting fact about yourself that not many people know.
Wow.
On the spot, right there.
I'm quite open and honest, so I don't have a lot of interesting facts that I don't normally bore people with. I stood for council election against Hilary Benn when I was in my last year at university, as the youngest ever person to stand for the Conservatives. There you go. And I only lost by 150 votes. There you go. I won't say when that was because that's showing my age, but yeah, it was a while ago.
So Stephen, I think from memory, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think generally you live in south of France, but you mentioned you're visiting over at the moment, and you popped over to Wales for a couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm doing. I've met some people this week. I went to the Somerset Business Show this week, and then next week I'm going up to Birmingham. I'll go and visit my nan. She's 96 this year, so I'll take the kids to go and see their nan, and go meet some other clients and some business connections while I'm over here. So holiday for the kids and a working holiday for Dad.
Yeah, and then back to France absolutely. Yeah, back to France for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down in France from the 5th of November, basically. Fly back out on the Sunday. The kids will be back at school, and then I'm not sure about Christmas yet. It's complicated. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay. You might be here, you might not be here.
I might be here, I might be in Spain, I might be at my house. There's a lot of factors at play on that, which gets complicated, so we'll leave that.
Okay. Stephen, so you told me to put on your promotion poster and stuff, not to call you Stephen, to call you the business disruptor. This is your new alter ego. So tell me about that.
That's the Batman of the business development world, yeah. And I chose that. Actually, I was talking to Brad Burton because when I moved to France, I've got a small hedge fund in the States, and I was quite comfortable just playing at it. And Brad said, no, that's not good enough. You've got to get in. And so I joined his Now What group. And he and I were talking about what am I going to do, if anything. And we were talking about being disruptive because I always have been. I don't like the status quo. You know, status quo normally means somebody's got cruise control on in the car and they're just coasting and they're not thinking about stuff. So, you know, all the old adages of a week's worth or a month's worth of experience that they repeat every week thereafter, or a year's worth of experience they've repeated for 15 years. And that does tend to be the case. When I go into any company of any size, I'm asking why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And the answer is always because we always have. So the idea is to disrupt that thinking and get them thinking about why they do what they do. And then you can start to make those changes where needed. And it comes from within them rather than me saying, this is a new system you have to do. As soon as you give somebody a new system to implement, they throw it away and they're going to go back to the old way. So the idea is that we take their systems that they already use. It's their child, it's their baby, it's their business. And then we fix those systems so that it's still their system, but it's improved and it works. Most people have a system, they just don't always realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And why did you why did you want to start to become has it always just been something that you just do and then you decided to do it as more of a profession, or was it something a path that you just kind of take?
I'll tell you how it started. I had my first company when I was 10 because I couldn't get pocket money. My dad was a tight ass bastard, basically. So I went out doing household chores for all the other people who either didn't have kids or whose kids got pocket money and were allowed to go out and play. And I did that on the Saturday and the Sunday, and it was pretty tiring going out and working, cleaning shoes and washing cars and cleaning silverware. So I went into school with all the money on the Monday, and treated a few friends to ice creams, I think, at the ice cream van at break time. And then the next week, I got them all to come and do the work. Well, I went around and spoke to the clients and made sure everybody got paid, and I paid them half and kept half for me. And thus a manager was born. In terms of going in and fixing other companies, that started in the States when I had the venture capital company. I raised some money for a company that wanted to expand, gave them the expansion money, and they basically blew the lot. They bought a new car, they upgraded some stuff in the office and whatever, and they didn't fix any of their internal systems, so the money was lost. And I said, never again. That's not going to happen again. So the next time we raised money for a company, I went in with an executive board position, voting rights on the board, and a management hand to go in and examine what was going on. Pissed a lot of people off because I was quite young at the time. I was 20, was it 96? I was mid-20s. But if you want my money, you take my systems, basically. And that's what I did, go and fix the company. And from there, the idea of that logical... I'll give you an example. A lot of companies will hire an HR consultancy firm to come in and fix their pay or whatever. And they fix that one part of the company, but everything else... And it's kind of like an old car. If you repair an old car, you put a brand new engine in it, and then go racing off down the street, all the wheels fall off and the brakes fail, and nothing else is geared up for that new engine. So you have to look at everything together holistically and make sure that the whole thing is improved as you move it up. And that's the principle behind it, basically.
I guess the alternative is just throwing it all in the bin and starting from scratch. Is that easier sometimes?
Yeah. There is a point. I mean, the best we ever had was a company that if they'd have made payroll on the Friday, they would have been bankrupt. And that was the Wednesday when I went in, and we turned it around in 6 months. And then he sold the business, he paid off his mortgages. He had 3 mortgages on his house because he was supporting the business. There comes a point where you say, how many times are you going to remortgage the house in order to pay for you to do what you're doing? Sorry, I just got a video call coming in. But we still turned it around to a point where he could sell it.
Fantastic. So Stephen, obviously there is a whole bunch of gurus out there and mentors and different business coaches, and there is a ton of different titles for them and what they do. Why should someone use you? Why are you different to all the others?
They shouldn't. That's the first thing I'll tell any of them. They shouldn't use me. They shouldn't use anybody. They should get out there and work out how to fix the business themselves. Because if you want to run your business, it's your business, not mine. It's kind of like going to the gym. Why use a personal trainer instead of just going to the gym and doing it on your own? Because you don't go to the gym if you do it on your own. If you have a personal trainer, they give you that motivation to keep you going. I've worked in 14 different countries. I couldn't count the number of companies I've worked with and helped. But I'm not interested in walking in and saying, this is the system you've got to follow this system, off you go. I'm interested in working with people who want to learn, who want to get better at doing what they're doing, so that I no longer have to be there. That's my goal. My goal is to get out, whereas most consultants, most advisors are selling their time and they want to stay in there. I'd rather have your business successful and you tell other people, this guy actually came in and fixed it with me or helped me fix it. Most of my clients will say, he helped me fix my business, rather than he tried to teach me how to do my business better. And that for me is the key. And that if you want to run your business your way, but you want to run it better, that's what I'll do to help you. I'll help you make what you do better. That's it. Kingmaker, if you want to call it that.
Absolutely. So you don't do any of the actions yourself. You give them the tools to do it for themselves.
Yeah. There's no point me doing it for you, is there? A lot of people say, oh, I thought you'd come in and sell for me. Why? It's your business. Again, if I go to the gym and I expect my personal trainer to get on the exercise bike and pedal on the spinning class for me, I'm not going to lose the weight.
Yeah.
It's not. So it's more teaching a man to fish rather than giving him a fish for a day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we spoke some on the pre-call for this anyway, but how does that? So for the customer, how does that look, and what would they pay for whatever you're offering at the moment?
I've got for the sat nav for the business. I've got 2 models. One is the scenic route. I call it sat nav because when you get in your car and you turn your sat nav off, it works out where you are and you tell it where you want to go, and then it plans a route. And along the way, there's changes because there's a traffic jam or you don't want to pay the toll road or whatever. So sat nav for your biz. There's a 3-year course which I call the scenic route, and that's £69 a month if I'm $69.99. And then I do a very much toll road fast route, which is 6 months. And that's £250 a month. And the idea by the end of that is that you've got a document that you've created that tells you where your business is and what you're doing. And you have midterm, long-term and short-term actions that you already have been taking the short-term actions, like fixing your sales structure, making sure that you've actually got a process that you can follow to work out where the problems are, making sure your accountant's booked in properly, or you do your bookkeeping, all those bits and pieces that people hate. But systemize it so that it's okay to hate it, but it has to be done anyway. You know, rather than ignoring the elephant in the room, let's have a system so it's done and you don't have to worry about it. You know, when I do the sales journey, we normally do it up on a whiteboard. So when you walk into the office, you can see everything you've got to do is down on the board. So there's no more waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, shit, did I send a proposal to that guy? And did I get back to so-and-so? Because that's what happens at 3 o'clock in the morning to business owners. You know, you wake up and then you can't go back to sleep because you're worried about what you might have forgotten. If it's written down on a bloody board on the wall, you can't forget, can you? It's that simple. So yeah. So
okay, so you've got the
Sorry.
So you got the £69 a month for 3 years, which I'm guessing is that one call a month with you, or is that?
No, it gets a little bit more involved than that. There's 4 initial calls over the first month where we'll take 2 hours and go through everything on the business. It's what in advisory circles they call a sort of a current state assessment. So we work out exactly what's going on, and I'm already sort of putting in some ideas. For example, you mentioned I went on the pre-call about talking to estate agents in order to get referrals. Of course, my brain's already kicking in now. Okay, so we talk to estate agents. What about lawyers in terms of property law? In terms of I think you mentioned which would have come up anyway, divorces. Which then leads on to, so I'm always thinking about, because I've worked in a lot of different industries, I've got a lot of ideas from other industries that a lot of people wouldn't have considered in their industry. So we start to throw in new ideas, new ways of doing things.
Yeah, so they'd have calls with you, several calls every month throughout the term of the 3 years, or
yeah, it's
more
quite
than more intense one.
That first series of calls is designed to work out what's going on in the business, so I can then assess what needs to be fixed. And then there's a follow-up call system after that where we go through, this is what you're supposed to have done. You haven't done anything yet. You need to, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be done. And then I become more of a, I guess what you'd call a typical coach, where, you know, I ride them a little bit harder and you've got to go and get this done. Otherwise it's not going to work for you, you know. And when I used to do this in the UK, it was a 3-year managed growth program with a 1-year break clause, so I could get rid of them if they didn't do the work. Because I'm not going to keep working with somebody that doesn't want to help themselves, you know. Again, going back to the gym, if you've got a guy that's turning up eating donuts and not working out, there's no point keeping him as a client if you're a personal trainer.
Absolutely, yeah. So do you tend to find that it's a typical journey, or is each person industry and company very individual, or is it more like, if you do this, if you make this many calls, then you're going to get this result and you're going to...
Every single client is different because everybody's got a different end game. You know, if I talk to 3 other mortgage advisors today, they will all have a different vision of where they want to be, of what success looks like for them, of what they want to do as their exit strategy. You know, are they looking to sell it? Are they looking to cash out? Are they looking to just die at their desk? Everybody's got a different end game. So it's very much like that sat-nav experience. You know, if we all jump into a car today and we're going to drive from this house where I am today to London, we're going to have different trips for the most part. Because you might want to go on and pay the toll road. I might be a cheapskate and decide I'm going to drive through Gloucester to get there because I don't want to pay to go with it. You see what I mean? So everybody's got a different idea of what their route is. I've got a client, they're a married couple, and they work in it's not a shed as such, but they've got an office in their back garden. And everybody they've spoken to as a mentor or a coach says, well, you know, you need to expand and you need to go and get proper offices and stuff. They don't want that. That's not what success is for them. Success for them is working from their home office, having a cup of tea, you know, when they want to, in their pajamas, and then when they've got to go out and visit clients, go out and visit clients. So why are people advising them to go and buy an office or rent office space and increase the staff when that's not what they want? That might be what you want, but it's not what your client wants, and it's their business, not mine, you know.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And
again, use the gym analogy. You know, if you and I, you did go to the gym a bit more than me by the looks of it, but you know, we would have very different goals of what we want out of the gym. Therefore, we'd have a very different journey at the gym.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I guess you need a PT, or the equivalent of a PT would be yourself, to help you say this is. And I guess I'm guessing what you have to do the first thing you do is kind of push them to find out what their goals are.
Yeah, that's the first thing I do is, where do you want to end up with this? Why are you doing this rather than working for a company 9 to 5 and not have all the? Let's be honest, it's a shitty way to earn a living working for yourself. You know, there's no thanks. You don't get recognition. You don't get a promotion. You get all the shit. And in a lot of cases, you get very little money. So why bother? Why not just go and get a job? And that motivation is the same thing that they'll do in a gym when you start at the gym. Why do you want to come to the gym? Because if you're not motivated to get up in the morning and go to the gym, you're going to stop going fairly quickly, as most people do. And it's the same in the business journey. You know, if you're not motivated to work to make this happen, I can't help you. No. And I'll be brutally honest with people on that.
Sure. I mean, one of the things. So your intent 6 months, he said, was 250 a month. 6 months is £1,500. Yeah. That's a lot of money for most small businesses. Would that matter what industry they were in? Would that?
No, it's designed. That is designed more for the medium-sized clients. So they've probably got 5 years, 4 or 5 years in. They're making reasonable money. And they're ready to push to that next level now. You know, they've recognized that what they had, the original. See, all companies go through that shift. You have your startup period, and you're making it up as you go along. You create some systems, maybe, hopefully, to make your life a bit easier. But then you kind of get stuck in that. Well, this is how we do it. We want to grow, but our systems aren't ready. We don't have things ready for that growth. So how do we get to that stage? And that's normally where I'll go in on that 6 month deal. Whilst what I call the scenic route is more for the small business owner. They don't have 250 quid a month to drop into this. But over 3 years, you know, they will be increasing their business slowly. I'm upfront and honest with everybody. It's the first month that makes the biggest difference with all of them. That ongoing support, though, is much more important for a small business, one-man band working from home, or rented office, or whatever it might be, because they need that hand-holding. They need that initial change, and then they need that hand-holding going on. Whereas a company with 4 or 5 years experience, they don't really need that ongoing support. And that's why I've structured it into those two ballparks. It's very much, it's not an either or you choose. It's really designed to match the company needs behind it. Almost like I know what I'm doing. Scary.
And would you expect somebody who said the first month makes the biggest difference? Are they going to see that return? Are they going to see their sales go? And your experience, have you seen them kind of go from up here to different levels?
I think, I don't know if he's watching at the moment, but Robert Leet was asking a question about objections, which always comes up, whether I'm doing sat nav or sales. Objections. He had a problem with a guy with objections. We had a live. It lasted about 40 minutes, and I talked to him about asking questions on the front end to avoid objections coming in later, and explained sort of how to structure that and stuff. And he went off, and then I think every week after that, I got a message from saying, just sold another £600 package. Just sold another £600 package. And it can be that quick. The mindset change can be that quick. If you do the work, you know. You've just gone through weight loss. I remember seeing the pictures of you know, sort of before and after. It took time, it took effort, but the actual change in the mindset's quite quick. Then you have to go and put the effort in to build up the business. And that's why the first month is the most crucial. And the mindset.
Absolutely. So maybe you mentioned Rob there. I have just invited him as well, so he might be able to jump on and see this. Can you tell me either about maybe his or another customer journey and how? I know you've mentioned the couple and Rob now as well, but maybe a customer journey that stands out in your mind that you've helped and that really kind of maybe the.
I'll do it with a corporate client if I may, because it highlights there's an exception to every rule. And whenever I was, my basic background is sales. That's what I started off doing. I had the gift for the gab. I was a natural salesperson, whatever you want to call it. And whenever I go into a company as a consultant or an advisor or whatever hat you want to put on, the initial issue was always, we're not making any sales. We need to fix sales. And I always used to say, it's never sales. The problem is never sales, because these guys are normally on commission. They're pretty hungry. And as long as they know how to sell and you've got a decent product, they will go and earn their money. That's what sales guys do. We're hunters for the most part. So the problem was always somewhere. It was always implementation, or the product wasn't very good, or they were talking to the wrong clients, or whatever. It was never sales. I went to a company in Saudi that called me because they'd stopped selling. And they were fastest growth company 5 years in a row. They did software that links hospitals and insurance companies. So So when you go into the hospital, you've got a card and it says, yes, you're eligible. And then the second phase is what are you allowed to have in terms of treatments? So it's sort of pre-authorized according to your insurance plan. Then the third service they had was all those documents that you get, all the tests and everything when you go into the hospital, all have to be collated and sent to the insurance company, who then have to have a doctor look through all of that and make sure it's all acceptable treatment for what was wrong with the patient, and then approve it and pay it. And that whole process could take up to 6 months, 7 months for some people to get paid by the insurance company as a hospital. So there's what happened was all the stuff on the computer would be loaded into the hospital management system, and that would all be sent electronically the same day to the insurance company, who would then review it within that week. And so they're getting paid within a week or two rather than 6 months, which is quite beneficial. But they weren't selling it anymore. So when I went in, I said, well, it's never normally sales, so let's go and have a look at what's going on. I went out with the sales team, and everybody loved it. Everybody wanted it. Okay. So I went to implementation. I went out with them, and we went along to the implementation of the system. In order for that computer system to work, so they had, I think there's something like 1,200 clinics in Saudi, and they had 1,190 signed up for systems 1 and 2. Which you have to do. You can't not do that as a hospital, whether it's by phone or whatever. You have to check the patient's eligible, and you have to check what they're eligible for. So those systems were in place, but they didn't have the third one. The reason being that not all 1,150 had the third system is because they didn't have a computer system. So sales are going in and saying, this is basically our product. It's all free unless you use it. I'll send the implementation guys in next week. They can install it for you. Everything's cool. Sign here. Go back to the office, get their commission. Implementation will rock up the next week. There's no computers. So how do we install it? So the problem became sales were basically lying to the company to get money. And that was unacceptable. So we restructured the whole company. We got rid of sales, and we basically, there's no sales left to do. You've got 1,150 companies signed up out of 1,200. You're done. Now you need to do management and make sure that they learn how to get the computers in that they need to improve to be able to use your system. So that was a massive change, and that changed the whole structure of the company, and they went on from there, strength to strength.
Do you used to work with them now, or are you
no,
kind of done once?
They're over in Saudi. I still talk to the CEO. We still talk probably on a weekly basis, because I normally become very good friends with my clients. I used to say, you tell your lawyer what you have to, you tell me everything else. And in fact, Jane, I mentioned Jane Proper before, she was going, hang on a minute, my clients have to tell me anything. I said, well, if they mention something like money laundering, you have to report them, so you can't tell your lawyer everything. Tell me, though, to make it more efficient. Allegedly. Yeah.
Yeah. I won't mention money laundering, although I'm sure I'll be investigated in about 3.5 seconds.
Absolutely. In your business, absolutely. No, you've got to be careful.
Rightfully so. Yeah. Okay. You mentioned earlier about one of your clients and what success meant to them. Working out a shed and things. So now to hear more about you and your business journey so far, what does success mean to you from a business point of view?
From this side of the business, helping people. Literally, I did a thing after a talk, Be a Better Speaker, again with Brad Burton. I'm sorry for the shameless plugs. And I kept away from those things, normally feeling quite, I've always done a lot of public speaking, so I wasn't expecting to learn how to speak better, but to find my voice, as it were. And I came up with the idea of the unmotivated business motivator, because success for me in business is more the hedge fund side of things that I do, and getting clients in and making big money again like I did before. But with this, it really is helping people be the best version of them, or be their business being the best version of the business that they can have. And nothing gets me happier. Doing it for 69 quid a month is not going to float my boat. You know, I spend more than that on wine a week, for Christ's sake. You know, it's not why I'm doing that. But to see small businesses develop and grow and get to understand what running a business really entails, as opposed to, you know, running around to a few networking meetings and having a nice time, but not really growing the business. That for me is a success in that side of the business. The rest of it, Clear Mental Image, involves moving to St. Lucia and working in the States a lot more with high-end clients. But you know, that's a separate conversation.
Sure. So just so I get an understanding, do you have your own other businesses and other projects that you're working on as well as this, or
I have a hedge fund in the States? Yeah, I'm the owner of a hedge fund which is SEC licensed, so I'm a licensed investment advisor in the States.
Well,
But yeah, that's a totally separate life. That's a different. I have to swap hats for that one.
Yeah, and I guess from the business owner's point of view that might want to use you, how will they know that? I mean, £69. Don't get me wrong; it's not free by any means,
No,
but you want to make sure you get your money's worth. That seems very cheap to somebody that could transform your business.
it is. But here's the thing: that's £70 a month over 3 years adds up. You know, so it's not a small investment that they're making. If they're at that level, if it's 250 for 6 months, it's a different level of investment, and it's a different reason for doing that. There isn't a single person that would come on here now and say, "I worked with Steve and he didn't help me at all." Why only 69 quid? Because this whole idea of spending 10 grand to go to a one-day seminar to learn bugger all at the end of the day and not change your mindset. I'm trying not to swear, but it really, really offends me. And I see it day in, day out. There's a sales company out there called Sandler. A lot of people have heard of them because they work in the UK a lot. And the guy that set up Sandler, by the same name, a guy called Sandler, he wrote a book called You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. And the whole basis of Sandler sales is that you work on this every week over the period of a year. Because that's how you enact change. You don't enact change by going, joining a gym, buy all the equipment and everything, and then go home and eat donuts and sleep. You make changes by going to the gym on a regular basis and investing that time in you and your body. It's the same with the business. If I tell you, come to my workshop tomorrow and learn how to fix your business, I'm lying. So when I do a seminar or I do a workshop, it'll be something specific, like how to create your sales journey so that you can track your sales. The leads to close that we mentioned before, that will kick in with some workshops at some point. Well, I'll have 20, 30 people in a room, which is what I used to do. This is how you plan your sales journey. This is what you're looking for along the way. Plan your own sales journey. Here's the leads, move on. But I'm not going to fix your system or you in a day. It's not going to happen.
Sure. So this is I know we talked about it before. That's the first time you mentioned the leads to close.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about that very quickly, please?
Yeah, that's my new program, and that's come about because I've been sitting on the outside, literally, because I live in France. I'm on the outside, but I'm on the outside looking in almost at what's going on in the business world, and I'm hearing the same things that I heard back in 06, 07, which is I don't have enough leads, and I don't really know what to do with them when I've got them. If I get in front of a customer, I'm great, but I don't have enough customers to get in front of, and I don't know how to get in front of them when I do get them. So what I came up with is the idea of, because the internet is as powerful as it is, it's a complex process of somebody scrapes data and then we filter through it, we improve it, but I can get people targeted leads. So if you tell me, going back to your example, estate agents, you want to speak to estate agents in, where are you based? I never asked you.
Leighton Buzzard mainly.
Okay, so you want estate agents in the immediate area to start off with, around Leighton Buzzard, and then you want to speak to the head of the company, for example. So we plug that into the system, we scrape the data, and from that I'll provide you with 10 leads of estate agents, the person to contact, their LinkedIn profile, their Facebook address, so on and so forth. And then you can go ahead and start contacting them, however you decide to contact them. And to launch the program, I'm also throwing in the sales journey mapping to make sure that you have a system that works when you start calling them. So, like we mentioned on the pre-call, when you go to the doctors, every doctor, whatever you go for, does the same thing. They check your blood pressure, they check your temperature, they listen to your heart, they listen to your lungs, and they go through that system every time because that's how they pull in extra information that might be affecting the base symptoms. Because you know what your symptoms are, but they're looking for the cause of that. And it's the same with what I do. So we sit down, we look at the sales system, make sure that it's a process. Because once you've processed it, you can then start working out where your weaknesses are. So if you're not converting phone calls to the initial phone call, you're not getting any proposals out to clients, we know that you've got a problem in that conversation. So now we can look at what are you actually saying to the client and how are you saying it and what are you asking them. And so we can build on the areas of weakness to make sure that sales journey becomes your templated model for making successful sales processes. So it's called leads to close because I will give you leads to close, and we'll also show you how to take it from a lead to a closed piece of business. Now, closing ratios vary amongst people. When I used to sell on the phone, I used to have a very bad closing ratio, but I used to make a lot of phone calls. And some people pride themselves on making one phone call or 5 phone calls and having 2 close or whatever. That never really bothered me. But if you're going to start paying for leads, and don't forget, when you go networking, you're paying whatever it is, £400 to £500 a year for the privilege of going networking. Plus you're paying for your breakfast. Plus you pay for your time out of the office. Plus you pay for the travel and all the rest of that. When you actually work out your cost per lead, it's anywhere from 40 to as much as £80 a lead. And that's not particularly effective if you're only getting 1 lead a month, which a lot of the people I talk to in networking are. So the idea is we give you 10 leads, they're £10 each, and I show you how to close them initially. That's an opening offer that won't last very long, because I can't give all that time away for free, as much as I'd like to.
Yeah. So when does that start, and how can people get on board?
It's already started. There's a link on the webpage. That's one of the under the services I offer. I haven't started marketing it yet, but I will. At the moment, I've been letting it play out a little bit in the groups, and then I went on holiday, so I haven't really done much with it this week. But as of the 5th of November, it will be advertised. And really, to show that I'm a man of my own word, I'm going to be advertising that away from the groups that we're all in, because everybody's fishing. We mentioned it on the pre-call. Everybody's fishing in the same pond, so everybody's looking to get people to buy from them, but they're talking to people that are trying to get them to buy from them. So everybody's there to, whatever we say about networking and don't be there to sell. Everybody is there to sell, otherwise you wouldn't go. But everybody else that you're talking to is there because they want to sell. So nobody's in that receptive buying mode. Here, we're going to have genuine leads that you're going to contact and work through your system to see if they're interested in working with you. So that's what sales is, and hopefully we'll get some results quite quickly. I trialed it with a client, and he reckons he's very specific on what he wanted. He wanted national charities with crap websites. I said, I can't filter out on the website. That's your job. But I'll give you 10 leads of national charities. So we did that, and he reckoned out of the 10, there are 3 that he could work with, and that's worth 15 grand of business to him if he closes it. Now, he's not closing at the moment because he's got too much business. But he will do. And because he doesn't need the business today, he can spend time building up the LinkedIn relationship with him, the Facebook relationship with him, and then when he's ready to sell, each one's worth 5 grand to him. So that's quite a significant return on investment for 100 quid.
Absolutely, and for somebody who is business to business, that's fine. Even for myself, where I get referrals. But for someone like you mentioned again, another PT that you work with, that's all going to be him to consumer. So
is it?
Where would you potentially?
Is it?
I don't know if you tell me.
I mean, this is why I'm different. Everybody says, "Oh, a personal trainer, he sells to people." Okay, but why isn't he selling to corporates? Corporate want people to be healthy. Why aren't you contacting HR and saying, look, I can come in at lunchtime and we could organize healthy sandwiches or healthy snacks for your staff and a half hour of basic in your clothes, not needing to get showered, workout activities that would keep them healthy and happier employees. As an example.
Okay, I'm sold.
Let's say, for example, even you as a mortgage broker, it's going to take a little bit more thought process. But if companies of a certain size that tend to employ people who are in their late 20s, early 30s, could have you on board to come and explain how mortgages work, and actually instead of renting, they could be getting a mortgage, the company would get benefit out of that. So you could theoretically target companies that tend to employ a younger generation and go in there and do a talk in there and get business out of it. So where do people work? In companies. How can you reach them through the company in a way to benefit the company and make the company look good? Speak to the head of HR. It's not, this is, if you ever read any of the Harvard Business stuff, they get into what they call blue ocean strategy. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But red ocean is where all the sharks are swimming and everybody's biting everybody and there's blood everywhere and it's horrible. You swim out of that into the blue water. Nobody even thought of that. I spoke to an electrician who's an electrical contractor, and they go in on the back of a new build or a renovation or a loft conversion or an extension, and they're a subcontractor, and they get shafted on price, they get shafted on payments, they get shafted on everything, and they do a substandard service because they're getting squeezed and they've got to squeeze somewhere. So I said, instead of doing that, why don't you go in as the lead contractor, electrical contractor, lead, marketing? I'm seeing a cable now. So that conversation over a coffee just transformed his entire business. But nobody does that. Exactly. That's why you should be thinking about it. And that's what I do. That's the stuff that adds on value that I can't explain that in a pamphlet, because it'll depend on the client.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to go out and start
great ideas,
aren't you? You're already thinking with companies that employ youngsters.
I am.
Because it's a benefit to the company. If I've got 100 employees or 1,000 employees, and you're going to come and talk to the younger ones about, or anybody wants to hear it, about how they could be getting a mortgage, I'm paying their salary, they're going to be saving money, they're going to be building a house, they're going to love me. They're not going to go and want to work for the competition.
Yeah.
If I'm bringing in the next day a personal trainer who's going to start working with people that actually want to lose a bit of weight, even though they're busy and they're tied to their desks, instead of being tied to your desk having a McDonald's, you're going to have a healthy snack on a Thursday and spend half an hour doing some basic exercises that you can carry on doing at home. You're going to lose weight. Wow, fantastic. This is a great company. So it's about what you can... How you can leverage. You sell, you sell Christmas cards and handmade birthday cards. Again, the company offers that to their staff. Why don't you, instead of worrying about going out at lunchtime and shopping for birthday cards, you can have them delivered to your desk. Here's the company that does it. I don't care who you are, what you do, you sell to people. We all sell to people. There was a conversation, one of the threads, one of the groups a while back about, do you sell to businesses or people? We all sell to people. It might be a business that uses your service, but it's people that are buying it. So find a way to contact them that nobody else does. And if you can't think of one, give me a call.
Yeah, good tip. Really good tip. Stephen, what advice would you give yourself starting out? I know probably not 10 years old, but maybe starting out your first proper business. We've all gone through our struggles. What was your...
Sold that for 300 quid, mate, 3 years later. I was happy with that. I was a millionaire. I wouldn't do anything differently, despite the mistakes. And the only thing I would say is transfer the money out of the British Virgin Islands before they nick it all. That's probably the only thing I would give myself advice. Yeah, just my journey has been a fun one, and again, despite the divorce and the rest of the stuff, there isn't anything I'd have done differently if you said go back now and do it again, except not lose the money the first time. Because everything gets us to where we are, the journey, there's all sorts of adages and people cleverer than I that write on these things, but what makes me who I am and what makes me where I am today with my kids is the mistakes as much as the successes. In fact, probably even more so the mistakes. Make mistakes. Don't be scared to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of trying something and it not working rather than not trying anything.
No, I completely agree. You don't really learn so much from your successes, do you?
No. You can't, because it worked. So it didn't go wrong. So you didn't learn. No. It's nice. Which leads us to be successful, but it doesn't teach you anything.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I guess that leads us quite nicely onto our next question. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made in business? Is there one? Is there not?
The biggest mistake. I always used to assume too much. That was probably the biggest mistake I used to make. I always used to, because I am quite a fast thinker and because I have done this a lot with a lot of different companies, if I come in and solve your problem too quickly, people get a little bit, oh, hang on a minute, he doesn't really know me. If you started telling me your biggest business problem right now, and I went blah 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 blah, this is how to fix it, it might be right, but you're not going to buy it. And you're not going to buy it because I haven't created that empathy, I haven't created that trust, I haven't created that relationship that's going to make you want to work with me or buy from me. Even if it's free, you won't take the advice because it's too much in your face. So quieten down, calm down, and again, don't keep all your money in one bank.
Yeah. Do you find, I know that this is a bit off topic, but I know with certain things that if I pay for it, I put more value onto it. So I'm more likely to follow it. Yeah. Do you think that might be an issue with charging as little as you do, that people might think, well, it's only £69. If I don't follow it, then it's not much lost?
No. If it was free, they wouldn't take the advice. I know that from experience. But if they're making that, the people that are going to invest £60 a month over a certain level, And that's an investment for them, and it's designed to be. It's designed to be for some of the people you'll see in Forend that are struggling to get the business working. Somebody posted the other day that they'd made a sale of that amount for the week, and they were quite happy. My goal is to get somebody from where they're making very little money to making more money. And as soon as they start working with me, I've never had a case where it's not true, but as soon as they start working with me, there's some things that are coming out straight away that are making them better doing what they do. And they're going to see results from that. But that again is why I created the Leads to Close, because it's a way in for people to actually get what. Because at the end of the day, however you dress it up, whatever marketing spin you put on it, whatever we're discussing, people want the same thing. They want more leads. Well, not everybody does, but most people want more leads to close, and they want to know how to get it closed. That's it. If they can solve that problem, the rest of it's niff-naff, really. The fact that I don't do my bookkeeping very well, that can be fixed when you've got a clear mind because you've got enough money to pay the bills. Then it becomes, okay, well, let's fix that. Let's straighten the picture on the wall. There's no point straightening the picture on the wall if you're not making any money. Make some money first and then fix the other problems.
Yeah. And do you think that there's some people that, we've obviously mentioned sales quite a lot, that just can't sell and they should just get somebody else to do it? Or do you think everyone with the right mindset and tools and nudging along can do it?
That's a very good question. And I don't believe it. Everybody says, I can't possibly pick up the phone and make a phone call to me while they're on the phone talking to me. I couldn't possibly do a live interview or something because I'd be too nervous. Well, I'm talking to them on a camera like this. So clearly you can. However, your mindset, and that's when you start getting to the NLP and all the rest of the stuff, your mindset tells you can't because you think you're trying to sell something to somebody. And what do we all think of when we think of a salesman? We think of a sleazy guy trying to rip us off in a shiny suit. So mentally, you're telling yourself, I can't sell because I don't want to be an arsehole, but I have to sell. So I'll become an arsehole and sell. So you've got that mental block that's stopping you from selling. Whenever I talk to people who can't sell, they always say, if you get me in front of the customer, I'm great. And they love it and they always buy it. In fact, I've got a great closing ratio when I actually get in front of them, but I can't get in front of them. And that's because they don't know who to get in front of and they don't know how to get in front of them. If you can fix those two problems, Leads to Close is designed to do, then they should be straight sailing. I think if you're passionate about if you're doing something, you're doing it because you're passionate about it. Whether you're a mortgage advisor, whether you're a massage therapist, a plumber, software engineer, I don't care. If you've gone to the trouble of setting up your business to do it yourself, it's because you don't like the way that the big company did it and you want to do it the right way, which means you believe in it, which means other people will. And if they believe in it, they'll buy it. But you have to get past that initial listen to me, like me, listen to me. It's a 5-step process I do in Stop Selling, Start Growing. But that's why I created Stop Selling, Start Growing. It's for business owners who don't want to be sleazy, shisty salespeople, but know that people have to buy from them. Stop selling.
Yeah.
If you go around and go, these are cups, they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You need cups like this. This is from the networking show. Look what my child thought was a funny thing to do. It's supposed to be tea or coffee. Thanks. So I have cups of wee with free sugars. There you go.
Nice.
But if you sell cups for a living, there's no point going around telling everybody I've got the world's best cups. I've got a cup. Ask me if I need cups first. What sort of cups do I need? So even if somebody sends you an email saying, I believe you sell cups, I'd like some. You don't just go, because I didn't want mugs. I wanted little coffee cups to go in the restaurant after. You have to ask questions and ask questions and ask questions. And by teaching people to do a consultative selling approach as business owners, they will get better results because people need their services. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a business for it.
I mean, one of the things that I found, and I don't know what you think about this, one of the things I found most frustrating when I started out, and I realised this more and more as I went to networking events, was that even though I think I'm a very good mortgage advisor, it doesn't matter how good I am at my job. It matters how much I can present that to people. I can be the best mortgage advisor in the world, bar none, no one even slightly close to me, and that doesn't matter unless I can get in front of people, unless I can market myself and sell myself. And on the vice versa end of that, if you're terrible at your job, but you can sell yourself well, you're going to get lots of customers, and seems to be nowhere in between. Either you can sell yourself as a business, or you can't. And if you can't do that, then it doesn't matter how good you are, no one's going to ever get to know that.
Exactly, and we were talking about this day before yesterday at length. Especially in my world, you talk about all these gurus who are out there. You can go and pay 10 grand for a course and go on a 1 day seminar and fix everything in 1 day. No, you can't. But they make a lot of money selling a dream, selling a magic pill, or whatever you want to call it. That suddenly this is the guy that's going to have all the solutions. Yeah, he's got the solution. He charges idiots 10 grand a day to come in and listen to him talk. I'd love to charge people 10 grand a day to come and listen to me talk, but they're not going to get anything out of it. And so we were talking about, why is it that some people, a lot of people, will go to these shystery things and not make any money and not have any success, but they won't invest as much smaller amount of money for that ongoing development or that ongoing success. And we talked about three major things for me. They want validity. They want to be told that they're okay and it's not them, it's the system. They want accountability. They want to be held accountable to somebody for doing what they do. And they want to believe in magic, which I think a lot of people do. The Disney films and all that stuff growing up. It's going to be easy, don't worry. There is a quick solution. You were being lied to the whole time. And this is it. Give me 10 grand. It's bollocks. But it's the same as the gym. How many people go on fad diets? How many people go and buy that latest piece of equipment for the home that they never use, as opposed to actually just saying, shit, I'll pay the 30 quid a month, whatever it is. I'll go to the gym 3 times a week. I'll eat less calories than I burn, and I'll lose weight. It's hard work. Yeah, but that's why you're doing it, because it's hard work. Or go back to a job. It's that simple for me. Yeah. I get very passionate.
There is no magic pill in anything, right?
Hey?
Sorry, there is no magic pill in anything. Anything worth having is worth for.
It takes. I mean, I made a lot of money, what I considered very easily, when I was in the States selling investments. And I always considered myself to be very lazy. And I went back in May last year to I met one of my mentors again. He was 96, and he was in a home, very nice home. He had a lot of money. And we talked, and I said something about being lazy. And he said, "You're the least lazy person I know." I used to work for every week that the guys in his office worked. I would do that in a day, because I would make $20 an hour, and I'd be calling from 6 o'clock in the morning till, I'd make my last call around 11:30 to the West Coast, and I worked. But it wasn't work for me. It was easy, just picking up the phone and asking people for 100 grand. I found easy, because it's not my money, it's theirs. Don't make any assumptions and send me the money, and they did. I always remember the first time I got a check for $100,000. I said, "Really? You don't know? He doesn't know me. He sent me $100,000. Wow, what an idiot!" But I made a lot of money very quickly. Spent a lot of money very quickly, but enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed the lifestyle. But it was work. I did have to put the hours in. That's why you should really enjoy what it is you do if you're going to do it as a business. Otherwise, it's miserable. Yes.
So, please, can you give me your top tips around? So, normally this would be around starting your business, or maybe the top mistakes. What would be your top tips to somebody looking to maybe start out, or somebody who's just started recently?
Look at what you do very carefully and how you do it, because running a business has lots of different bits that feed into it. So from how you track what you're doing and how you monitor it are the keys to improving. If you don't track and monitor what you're doing, you don't know if you're improving. Again, to use the gym analogy, if you don't weigh yourself and take measurements when you start your gym journey, how do you know if you've improved? Until you get to the toned body fit that you want, which obviously I haven't quite got to yet. And unless you're tracking it and monitoring it, you don't know if you're improving or not. So whatever you do, whatever your business is, think about the back office stuff, which everybody hates, and how you can make sure that you're getting it done at the best of times and the worst of times. Your sales process and how you market yourself, whether it's, I could speak to 100 people now who are in one of the networking groups, and not one of them would know what it's costing them to get a lead, because they've never actually sat down and said, how much am I spending a year? How many leads do I get for that? Divide it out and work out. A lot of people don't know their break-even costs, so they don't know how to price their product. They just look at what everybody else is charging and charge about the same, and they don't work out whether that's efficient or not. If you're not charging enough money to cover your cost of living and keeping the doors open, there's no point doing it. So you've got to price yourself correctly, and you need to be monitoring that as you go along. So monitoring what you do so that you can improve it, and make sure your pricing is correct, I guess. And don't believe you have to be a salesperson in order to sell. You don't.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I know, so certainly from what you said there, I'm definitely guilty of not knowing how much my leads are each, and I don't even know how I'd start to calculate that. So maybe something I should look into.
Well, how many? Let's say, do you know where you get your leads from?
Various places. Some will be
track where you get them. So that's the first thing. Do you actually track where you get your leads from? Do you monitor that?
Yes. So
you get X from, let's say, are you in what networking group are you in?
4N and another one.
Okay. Another one. That wouldn't be BNI, would it? No, we're not going to go there.
No, it's a local one. It's not a national one.
Okay. So if you say, for example, how many leads do you reckon you get a year from 4N? Or a month? Or a week?
Not very many.
Really?
No, I mean, I've only actually been joined 50 days, so I'm still relatively new.
Okay.
I've still not had a kind of a regular meeting that I go to.
Okay.
We've only just started the local one around here. It's only had actually two meetings, so it's
okay. So that's a bit unfair then, because you're fairly new to it. But as you go through, it's very easy to calculate. You work out what it costs you a year. You work out how many leads you get, and you divide one by the other. Yeah. And then you know how much it's costing you per lead. So with one of your other group, where are you getting most of your leads from at the moment?
It'll be referrals from estate agents,
okay,
or from personal referrals or online networking groups.
Online networking. Let's use referrals from estate agents. It doesn't really cost you anything, does it? Or does it?
Up front, it doesn't. At the back end, they take a cut of the commissions.
Okay. Then that's an easy calculation to do. You know how much the lead costs you because it's back end stuff. When it comes to networking groups online, you've got to figure your time into that. What's your time worth? If you know what your billable hourly rate is, then you know what your pricing is. So you know, you see what I mean? Once you know what your time is worth, you can work out how much time you spend online in order to get those leads. And how many leads you get.
I kind of agree, but at the same time, it's very indirect, and it's whereas a lot of businesses, if they spoke to you, they could be like, right, I need a business mentor now. With a mortgage, it's very unlikely to be that case. It might be 1 month, it might be 6 months, it might be 6 years before they actually need you. So a lot of the time, it's more the visibility rather than the sale, which is again quite hard to calculate.
But because you're not investing money into that networking, it doesn't matter as much. As you say, it's about visibility. It's about showing that you're still there and you're around, and success stories that people can see. So if they are thinking about a mortgage, the first name that comes to mind is yours. But when you're starting to go networking, for example, to 4N, that's an investment of cash. So you're paying, what is it, 365 plus VAT, give or take, plus the 15 quid twice a month, plus travel time. You could really expense that out. And then how many leads do you get back over the year? And then you can work out how much it's costing you. Now, if you're going to 3 different networking groups, it's very important to know which one's giving you consistent returns and what the price of those is. If you're getting, let's say it costs you, one company I spoke to yesterday on Wednesday, their price of lead is £68. So they know that if they invest £68, they'll get a lead, as it were. It's not a magic formula. It doesn't mean that if it is 68 quid, I'll get it back. I just got down to 20%. There we go. But it enables you, for example, if they're spending 68 quid per lead on average and they go to a new networking group or they go to a new business show or whatever it might be, or they do an advert and they don't get any returns, or it's cost them £120 a lead, they can cut that marketing out altogether. But if you don't know which ones to cut out. So that price per lead becomes an important. So and that's it. You know, it's about working out what your factors are in business so that you can improve them. Because if you don't know what they are, you don't know. And that's when we get into the whole people don't know what they don't know. A lot of people don't know they need to know their break-even point in order to calculate their pricing. A lot of people don't know they should be monitoring their costs per lead in order to work out whether targeting their advertising more effectively or more efficiently. A lot of people don't know that they need to be monitoring their sales system or their sales journey so that they know where their weaknesses lie. And if nothing else, if you want to do your sales journey, when you walk into the office on a Monday morning, you look at the wall, you see who you've got to be calling that week and who you've got to be doing proposals for and things. It's all written out neatly. You don't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning anymore panicking that you've forgotten somebody, or let somebody slip through the net because you forgot to call them, whatever it might be. So it's just about processes and systemizing things so that you can't fall into the shit I forgot trap.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've kind of given me, I think, just on this call alone, a dozen ideas that I could definitely work on. So that's
awesome.
Just myself alone. I'm sure, hopefully, a lot of other people watching. I've seen a lot of people come on and go off, but not many questions on there.
I think
there's been. No, I've seen a lot of people come on and off, but there's no questions at all.
It's funny. It's one of those industries where a lot of people won't ask questions in public because they think that they're going to look stupid. You know, that they're the only ones with that problem. And I'm sorry, guys, but every problem that you've got, pretty much everybody out in the group's got the same problem. It's not you alone. You know, most people don't know what their break-even point is, or how to work out their pricing, or how to monitor their sales systems. That's why I get paid what I used to. I mean, I used to charge 80 grand a week in Saudi. US dollars, not sterling. But if you wanted to work with us, that's what it would cost. A week's worth of work was 80 grand, and I'd send in a couple of my guys and fix your systems. So these are big, national companies that have the same problems that everybody else has. And in fact, in most of the big companies, it's even worse. It's just the way that it is.
It's the same for the small companies with an extra couple of zeros on the end, right?
Basically, yeah. I learned that lesson when I first started selling investments, and somebody was nervous because they were going to have to talk to a big player. And he was nervous talking about that level of money. Why? That's his money. That's what he's comfortable talking at. You're not there to convince him to make the investment, as it were, at that level, because you're not comfortable. You're there to help him make the investment he wants to make at the level he wants to make it at. You know, you've got to talk to your clients in their language, not yours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Stephen, how can people get in touch with you? So say I'm somebody watching this right now. I've got loads of questions. Think what you said is fantastic. Is it best on Facebook, or you've got email, or have you got a web page?
Yeah, I mean the website. I'll plug the website in on the comments section, I guess. They can go to the website. They can contact me at the email address there. When I'm back in France and when I'm here because I'm on roaming, I just tell everybody to contact me on Messenger. You know, there's no point making a phone call when you can hit me up on Messenger. If you want to see my ugly mug, you can do a video. If you don't, you can just do an audio. It doesn't cost them anything. It doesn't cost me anything. And we still have the same conversation we would if we're on a phone. I prefer videos because then I can look at you while you're talking at me and I can see you. And it gives you more visual clues as to what the person's thinking or saying or doing. That's a whole nother section of sales. We'll talk about another day.
I completely agree with you. There's less distraction as well. I think if you're talking and you see somebody, then you're less likely to be checking your email or watching your notifications go off or whatever else, which I'm constantly guilty of when I'm on the phone to anyone, really. Great. Okay, any kind of closing comments or anything else you want to add to bits we've missed on that?
No, I mean, this is something I'm very passionate about, and I'm probably more guilty than my clients of giving away time for free. Because I do enjoy helping people, and it's something that I've been picked up on a lot lately, that stop just helping people and do it through the project for money. But I'm still going to be guilty of somebody calling me up and asking for help on something. I'll talk it through. And anybody that's watched this today, I don't know, I'll put I'll put my website on the comments below and a little code or something. If they quote that and they want to talk to me for half an hour about their business, just as an overview, I'll throw that out there for anybody that just wants to talk through, like we've done today with your stuff. Happy to do that. Little half-hour chat as a bonus for watching.
Absolutely, that's very generous of you. Thank you. Thank you for talking through my bits. And there is a whole lot of other sides to my own business that I'd love to talk through with you. I think you'd have some really interesting perspectives. So, it'd be good to put that in the diary sometime if we can have a chat through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, we will wrap it up there, Stephen. I really appreciate your time today. So thank you, Stephen Jones, for joining me on this edition of Quiz Your Biz. Tune in next time, which will be it's Friday now, so next Wednesday, and we're just confirming a guest at the moment who that's going to be. But there is a whole schedule up until the end of the year with over a dozen people confirmed already, so there will be some fantastic guests coming up soon. And for all editions so far, and to find out more, visit quizyourbiz.com. Great. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Awesome.
And everyone watching, have a lovely weekend. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Talk to you soon. Bye.